Bartholomew Perez.
Juanita G here.
And today we are going to get to know Juanita Gonzalez a little bit better. Why? Because I've had the absolute pleasure of working with her for the last 6-7 years, almost the entirety of the time that I've been licensed. And whenever I introduce you to somebody, I always have that clients, they love you and they realize, like, I don't know that we could have done this the same way without Juanita Gonzalez. I feel the very same way about my business practice, because without Juanita, the breadth of knowledge, the experience in various realms, and an understanding of client and what it means to have some client intimacy, I think that's gone a long way. And I know you've heard it time and time again. And on Mexican Mother's Day, I want to remind you that we love you, we adore you, because who you are as a person and as a practicing professional. So
thank you.
If nobody has reminded you today, here is your reminder
Thank
from
you.
me to you.
That is very, very sweet. No, I appreciate that a lot. I mean, usually people don't like to talk about themselves.
Right.
Especially me.
We're going to break that today.
Yes. Goals, right? Goals.
Yeah. Yep.
But I mean, there's so much. I know that you want me to talk about myself, and I think we'll break it up a little bit just so Absolutely. That way it doesn't just all get, thrown together. But I definitely, landed in this industry by mistake. Well, not by mistake, but, sometimes we just don't really know where we end up and how, things happen for a reason. I'm a huge believer of that.
Absolutely.
A little bit about myself, before I got into lending. I, come from a, broken home, okay. Obviously Hispanic family. I am, born in Mexico. My mother, my entire family was born in Mexico. Born, in Mexico. My mom was a single mom, and she brought us over to the States, as, we were young. I was about 2-3 years old when I came over to the States. And I'm the youngest of, most of our siblings. So with that being said, the one thing that my mom always, engraved in us was, hard work. Education Classic. And hard work, traditional Hispanic family. In order to be able to get ahead in life, you have to go to school and you have to work hard. And those are great work ethics that she taught us. And I think more so because, when you have the majority of your children as women, right? 7 women, 1 boy. You pretty much kind of want to make sure that your girls can take care of themselves. And she did a great job.
I'd say so.
At doing that. I'll tell you what, some of the stuff that I have 2 little girls, and she laughs at me because she had 8 kids. And I think raising 2 kids is difficult. And she just laughs like, yeah, try raising 8. But yeah, she did a phenomenal job. She is a strong woman, along the side with my grandparents that were there to support her every single, step of the way. I think it's important, I think with Latino families, it's all about, staying together. Staying together, doing everything together, growing together. We didn't have much growing up. I tell my kids, like, I was lucky if I had a doll for Christmas, and that was like our biggest deal of the year, take care of the doll and the toy. But anyways, it taught us to, value what we had. And that's one of the things that we are trying to, instill in our kids, because, sometimes it's so easy just because we can,
right.
Give our kids things that we didn't have, just kind of like step back and not do that, so that then they don't become, they don't expect it.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Anyways, so that's just a little bit of myself. I was raised in a Hispanic home, Hispanic. I just became a citizen a few years ago.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And but I've been here, my entire life. I graduated high school. I went to college.
What did you study in college?
I studied business management. Well, initially I, like any other, college student, human being, let's just say, when somebody tells us, what do you want to do for the rest of your life? That's kind of a difficult question.
It's a very big commitment.
It's a huge yes, forever, right? And forever back then used to be like, what, 30 years?
30.
Back then, the baby boomers, let's just say, right?
Sure.
For us, 30 years is like probably like a little more than half of our career now,
Yeah,
right? Because
absolutely.
I mean, a lot of people now have to put in 30 plus years.
Yep, and probably that's going to change. But you're right, very, very permanent is what it sounds like, making that decision.
Exactly, and so that's scary, you know. So initially, you know, I think one of the worst jobs that I had growing up, which is actually what pushed me to, you know, to go back to school sooner than later, was I moved out of the house when I was young.
Okay.
Because my mom was very controlling, as she should be.
At 17?
Yeah.
Okay.
At 17. And I started work, you know, right away. I actually started, you know, with summer jobs. Summer jobs when I was, I think, like 13 and a half. Through the archdiocese programs, you know, that are offered. Because, you know, to do whatever you can to help out, you know.
Absolutely.
You don't want to be the kid that goes back to school with pro-wings. You know,
what is a pro-wing?
Well, pro-wings are just, you know, generic brand tennis shoes. Back in the day.
Okay. So it would be like the Skechers.
That's gonna date me? No.
I don't know.
No, like Payless shoes.
Okay.
I mean, I don't think they're in business anymore, but you know, I mean.
Yeah, I haven't seen a Payless in a long time.
I mean, imagine buying a pair of Nikes for like.
I know what you
kids.
mean, though. I know what you mean.
Right.
The knockoff brand, or like, yeah,
of course, you know. So I mean, as soon as we were able to, you know, we were like, hey, let's go make some money. You know, let's go work, and we'll buy ourselves, you know, 1, 2 pairs of shoes, and so we could, you know, fit in.
Absolutely.
Right? I mean,
as a kid, that's the biggest important thing.
Sometimes kids in schools, oh my gosh.
Very mean.
Yes. Yes, right? I mean, when you're the one that's in school, you don't really
100%.
see it.
Nope.
But anyway, so started working when I was 13, about 13 and a half.
Yeah.
Summer jobs. And then, so every summer, you know, did that till I was about 15 and a half when we actually could work and go to school as electives. And then when I graduated from high school, I had already started, you know, at a part-time job that I was working at, and it was delivering auto parts. Okay. I had different jobs, you know, during the summers, you know, like at the YMCA taking care of kids, you know, at the hospital, you know, checking in, you know, patients. And then a host is at a restaurant, you know, Mexican restaurant. But the job that was really, really willing to work my school schedule was an auto parts store, delivering auto parts. Yeah, it was interesting.
Okay. So was it you were working for the shop or for the distributor of parts?
The distributor of parts.
Okay.
Yeah. The bosses were amazing. I mean, they were wonderful.
And this was all in California?
This was all in California.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
So why was it the worst job, though?
Well, I think it's because it's when I started to grow and mature a little bit.
Got it.
So I graduated high school, you know, and I wanted a car. You know, I wanted a car. I wanted to get myself in debt, you know, like most people do.
But I think the bigger idea is like, I want to be able to move places comfortably, not having to take the bus.
Yes.
Transportation being key.
Yes,
Okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because, you know, when people give you things, you don't appreciate them.
100%.
My mom had helped me get a car, and I let somebody drive it, and they crashed it.
No. El novio?
No comment.
Okay.
So then I was on my feet for like months.
Oh my goodness.
And oh my God.
So that was a lesson learned. And
That-
you're like, let me do this again the right way.
Yeah, absolutely. But this time it cost me.
Okay.
I think my car interest rate, because I was 18, I had 0 credit.
Okay.
I mean, we didn't know anything about credit, right? And my siblings, my beautiful siblings, right? Because I'm the youngest of all of them. Nobody would co-sign for me for anything because, you know, I was the youngest, most immature one. And so I paid 18% interest on a Honda Accord.
This was
in 1997.
97, okay.
Yeah. 18% for a used car. The car was like $9,999.
That's crazy.
I think I ended up paying like $20,000 after all was said and done.
Wow.
But you know what? I had a car.
Importantly.
A car, and that was that. You know?
This shop delivery parts for mechanics was what helped you finance the car. Okay.
Yeah, having that job, obviously, you know. So as soon as I graduated, you know, they hired me full time, which was great because I went from part time to full time. So I had a job, you know, Monday to Friday, one Saturday out of the week. It was great, right? As a young adult, you know.
Absolutely.
You have your weekends off. You don't have to do more than you don't have to. Well, that worked for about maybe like 8 months.
Wow.
Yeah.
It was that bad?
Well, I mean, you know, you just start to look at your surroundings and you start to wonder, like, okay, what's next in my life?
What's next? Okay.
What's next in my life?
Fair.
And I remember we got a raise.
Okay.
And mind you, back then, minimum wage was like $4.25.
Whoa.
Yes.
Okay, 1997-ish.
Yes.
Okay.
$4.25 an hour. And we got a raise, and there was 2 gals that I used to work with that were in their 40s.
Okay.
I think mid-30s to 40s.
Okay.
One of them, her husband worked for the city. The other one, her husband owned an auto shop. And they'd been there one of them had been there for like 10 years. And we got a raise, and I got a 25-cent raise, and they got like a 50-cent raise. And I was stunned.
Okay.
I was like, 10 years, 50 cents? Like, what in the... I think that was like my eye-opening experience. And I mean, I appreciate that time in my life because I was able to see clearly.
Sure.
And immediately I knew, like, I am not, like, okay, this is definitely, it's time for me to go back. Like, it's time for me to go back to school. My mom was always worried about me, because I wanted to take a year off of school after I graduated because I just felt like, I needed a break. Like,
yeah.
Which is normal.
Absolutely.
But I'm glad I did because it allowed me to be able to, understand things on a whole different level.
Okay.
Right? Not just jump into something and then regret it.
Absolutely.
But I did want to go into the military.
You did.
And my mom did not let me.
So which branch would it have been?
It would have been the Marines.
The Marines.
It would have been the Marines.
Okay.
But so anyways, I enrolled right back into school right after that.
Okay. After this job. After
that raise.
You're like, this can't be it.
I was like, I can barely pay my car and my apartment. Like, are you kidding me?
My goodness. But you were doing this all on your own at the time.
I was. I had a roommate. I had a roommate from high school.
But still, for the most part, like you were self-sustained. Like you were doing what you could to take care of Juanita Gonzalez at the time.
Yeah.
Or Juanita, but not.
Yes, at the time. And so that started my journey into, back into, school. I was getting my prerequisites out of the way. I started a nursing.
Wait. So you started business management and then you switched out to do nursing?
No. So I started in nursing.
Nursing.
Yeah.
Okay.
I started nursing and I loved it.
Okay.
I loved it. I liked it. I mean, I love helping people.
Okay.
But I just couldn't see myself like, and of course, this is what happens when you don't have the right mentors in your life.
Sure.
Right? Because they help expand your thinking.
Yes.
Right? And obviously, the way that I was raised, I mean, there wasn't a lot of that. Okay. It was just go to work, do whatever you can, and just grow somewhere.
Yeah.
And
figure it out. For most of us, it's very much that, right? Like, figure it out.
Absolutely. And so I kind of got stuck, with the idea of, like, just having to work in a hospital for the rest of my life. And dealing with like sick patients, which I didn't mind that, but I used to get sick a lot because of the germs. Okay. I was constantly sick. That was one of the things I was like, But the other thing that really, really kind of upset me was that really, really changed my mind was when I would see other practicing, medical employees. I'm not going to call out people. They just didn't really have the bedside manners. And that really rubbed me the wrong way. Okay. Yeah. I mean, there was a few occasions when obviously we had patients that passed and obviously the longer that you do something, the more numb you become to it. Sure. So it's very routine. I try not to be like that. Okay. But it was very emotional. And then I just kind of figured, you know what? I don't know that I could do this for the rest of my life. Maybe this is not for me. But had I had somebody, mentoring me and saying, Juanita, this is the beginning. Like, this is where you start. You can grow into management, and the list goes on and on. I mean, I was just so stuck on that. Okay. And I said, okay, next, what else can I do? Okay. Still within the medical field.
Up until this point, though, it sounds like 2 defining moments that you had growing up. The first being about the wages, right? So you realized, really, is this all that my raise is going to be for like forever, a quarter every year? And then the second, realizing not saying that every service is going to be the same way, but in your particular experience, seeing how the medical practitioners treated their patients was another one where, it became very routine for them. And it was just another person on a bedside that you thought it was going to be more care centric, and it really didn't turn out that way. But you think that had you had a mentor reveal a little bit more about the industry, that might have been different?
Yeah, okay. I think so. I definitely believe so, because not everybody's the same.
That is very true.
You know, I mean, there were some medical professionals that I worked with that were amazing.
Yeah.
You know, but again, I think it was just my immaturity, and obviously I was young, and without that guidance, you know, that's all I could see at the time.
Okay.
So when you're kind of struggling and you're young, you know, you kind of have a tunnel vision, and you're just like easy to go on to the next.
Sure.
And I did. So I changed my major to physical therapy. I said, okay, how can I still stay in the medical field, but in a different area? And before I did that, though, completely, I became a massage therapist. Okay. Because it was a way where I could work with physical therapists. I worked in rehab, I worked in spas, and I did that for about 10 years, completely. And it's interesting because, again, after I graduated with my massage therapy certificate, I knew that I didn't want to do that either. Like with the, you know, the physical therapist aspect of it, one of the areas that did intrigue me the most was in sports therapy. Okay. Traveling maybe with, you know, sports teams. But then I would look at the long term of my life, and I was like, okay, when I'm in my 30s and 40s or 50s and I have kids, like I am probably not going to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
And so I was like, okay, that's not going to work. So a year into that, and I changed again. Okay. And that's when I decided to change it to go into business. My counselor says, okay, we're at the point where you can't keep changing anymore. Like, this is it. Like, this is the time where you need to, like, stick to the path that you're going to stay on, because now it's going to just get more expensive and it's going to take a lot longer. Okay. So I said, okay. And then he said, why don't you go into business? Have you thought about business? I absolutely knew nothing about business. Nothing. I was like frightened at the idea. And I'm like, what? I've never even thought about that.
Business, Juanita? Yeah. Is that, do you think because it was so unfamiliar, even though you were involved in a lot of the professions where, you know, business is a part of it, right? But it wasn't clear, right? It might have not been like, what aspects of business could I be involved there, right?
Exactly.
So like at that time, maybe that was also part of the thinking, like, what could I be doing?
And then he said, well, you know, it could be anything. It could be management. It could be sales. It could be marketing.
Ooh, here it is.
And I was like, and then my mind just started to like, really, what was it? What did it was, oh my gosh, I don't have to do the same thing over and over again for the rest of my life. Like, sign me up for that. Like, that sounds great. I mean, if I get bored with that, I can change to this. That was perfect. Okay. Still had no clue how or what I would be doing, but I mean, I was like, okay, that sounds great. Business. And that's exactly how it happened. So then I worked. I picked up another job, and I went to school.
So you had 2 jobs at the time?
I had a full-time job, a part-time job, and I was
3 jobs.
I was doing college. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
It was insane, but you know what? It was doable. I had no kids. Yeah. You know, I wasn't in a. I wasn't married. Yeah. You know, so I did it. Yeah. You know. Wow. So, I did that, and then I graduated. Okay. I actually met my husband I think it was like a year before I graduated. Okay. And we started dating, and then things got very serious. And then we got engaged, and then I was graduating like right as I was getting engaged.
Wow. The timing.
Yes, the timing was like great, but then it was like, okay, wait, hold on. Like, I think I have to go back for my master's.
Okay.
Yeah. So
did you go back?
I did. And he was very patient. I mean, obviously this is when you know that you found the right person for you, is because they're really willing to, you know.
So you finished your undergrad roughly when?
In 2000. Wait, hold on. We got married in 2007. So 2005. Okay. Yeah. Like at the end of 2004. Okay. We got engaged, and then I re-enrolled right away. Okay. And then I finished my master's, and then we got married. Because my thing was, you know, when I get married, because, you know, going to school and working is so much work.
It is, absolutely.
It's a lot of work. So when you are a parent or a husband or a spouse and you're doing all of that, I mean, I give you so much more kudos because, I thought it was hard enough doing it just on your own. Yeah. So you throw everything else in the mix, and I mean, I'm doing some extra education right now, at my stage in this life, and I am like pulling out my hair.
Those
I'm like,
licensing requirements.
how do I do this?
I know.
So anyways, he was very patient, and we had like a 2-year engagement. Because I didn't want to get married until I was completely done. Like I wanted to be able to be married and just be done with all of that. Like I just wanted peace, and I just want to be married. I'm like,
Absolutely.
you know what? I just want to be happy.
So that was also part of your graduation from the master.
Yes, I literally graduated the week before we got married.
Oh.
Because, school schedules, sometimes they change. It was supposed to be like a month before. Yeah, you know what? I mean, we plan, but, we have to roll with the punches. So we got married, graduated, got married, and then we took off to Greece for our honeymoon. It was the best vacation I'd ever had in like the last 5 years because you could really be in the moment.
Yeah.
It was like...
Up until now, that was probably the first real break you've gotten, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. Like you got a bit of a disconnect before like you jumped back into the grind and then moving fast like on everything to follow. But wow. Okay. So a lot happened in those years up to engagement, meeting your husband and moving forward into what is probably the LO business, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, well, so skip forward to that. So we got married, and 30 days later, my husband comes home with this business opportunity.
Okay.
And again, I studied business. Doesn't mean I knew anything about it.
Okay.
Right? Because we all know that what we learn in the books and what we learn in the field, in any industry that you're in, is completely the opposite.
Absolutely.
And so I was a massage therapist.
Okay.
My entire career, leading up to graduation. And he comes home 30 days later, after our marriage, with the business opportunity. And to me, it sounded great. I mean, the ability to be able to, build a residual income, over time, and you slow down working, but you're still getting paid while you're sleeping.
Yeah.
I mean, it all sounded really, really good to me. And I with him, went full throttle with that business. We built that business for 5 to 7 years together, right after we got married.
Okay.
So his background is construction, and we just, we were just two young, hungry, newlyweds.
Love that.
That just wanted to go, do something
100%.
with ourselves, and we did. We helped build this company. It's actually a network marketing company, direct sales.
Okay. For anybody that doesn't know network marketing, what does that mean? What does that look like?
It's direct sales. It's basically, selling a product or a service directly to the consumer.
Okay.
It's kind of like having your own business, but without a storefront. Okay. Word of mouth, referrals.
Okay.
That's pretty much exactly what we do now, right?
What was the product?
The product was actually a nutritional supplement.
Nutritional supplement.
It was a liquid vitamin, which my husband and I are both, a little bit on the healthy side. We're kind of health nuts. So it made sense because we were buying that product already, but at a much higher price.
Got it.
So it made sense, and
So why not be part of the distribution if you're already using it?
Exactly.
Okay.
The company was just getting started, so we were able to grow our business into different countries. Europe, Mexico. We had distributors, all over the place. We traveled a lot. Really? Yeah, a lot. Sometimes he'd be on one side of the continent, I'd be on the other side. But it was fun. Yeah. We had a great time. I got to say, that is where I learned my sales skills. Mm-hmm. I mean, forcefully, because in order to be able to lead and sell, you've got to, have those skills.
Absolutely.
I mean, so they didn't happen overnight.
Up until this point, this is the real first practice then of you as the person being the sales rep, being the marketer, being everything to do with business, right? Yes. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So this
Absolutely.
is the real reps to building the next phase.
Building the next phase, which, and that's why I say, everything happens for a reason, by coincidence, right? Because who would have known that all of that sales training, that we did for the last, he's got more years than me, obviously, because he had, been involved with a different company prior to that. But all of that sales training, conferences that we attended, would have led up to what we needed to help us with what we do now.
Absolutely.
In real estate.
I see it.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's
100%.
I mean, I always look at experiences as, just in addition to your skill set.
That's right.
No matter what you're doing.
No matter what.
No matter what you're doing. So, we decided to kind of step back from that business little by little.
This was roughly 2010-ish?
2010, yeah, 2010-ish.
Okay.
My husband actually had been in real estate, since 2003.
Okay.
Yeah, he did real estate in 2003 before the whole crash. And, when we got busy with that other business, obviously that kind of went on the side.
Yeah.
So didn't do that much because we were all over the place. But then he jumped back into it.
Okay.
And he went full throttle with it. And I was still building, our nutritional company business.
Fair.
But then he was home. I was traveling. I wanted to start thinking about family and having kids. And you really can't do that while you're, on the other side of the world. I mean, you can, but...
Did you want to?
I didn't want to. No, I didn't want to. I knew that when I had kids, I wanted to be that present mom.
Fair.
Which is why I waited for so long. I mean, I was 34 years old when I had my first kid.
Okay.
But I was 28 when I got married. I was 34 when I had my first kid. I was almost 40. I was 39 when I had my second kid. But just because, I wanted to be that present mom.
Absolutely.
Like, I wanted to be able to have that relationship with my kids. And he's an amazing father. I mean, he's grown, with the kids. I mean, I've seen a side of him that I've never seen before, which I think sometimes, like when you're married, there's different little things that happen that just kind of make you fall more in love with the person.
Yeah.
So yeah. And so that's when he suggested, that I should help him with the lending side, with his deals.
So he was a practicing agent and broker, or broker
agent? Just agent at the time.
And this is where the suggestion to become an LO came.
Yes.
Okay.
But it was more so on the side of, hey, I need help because I'm having a difficult time, getting some of these LOs to call me back, give me updates on my files, and
to do the work up front.
Yes. And in 2011, the market was crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, it was coming. It was like right after the crisis that hit in 2008.
Everybody wanted to buy.
There were so many modifications and foreclosures, and I just kind of looked at him like, I have no idea what do you want me to do? He's like, all you need to do is, talk to people. Just talk to people and just communicate. Pick up your phone and communicate. That's really all you need to do. And I'm like, okay, well, I already do that. So I started working with an LO as his assistant, just to kind of speak with, clients.
So you were just shadowing at the time?
Okay. Yeah, I was just shadowing. I was just, basically, helping, because it wasn't something that I, that I thought I was gonna do. I was just helping my husband. You weren't
convinced yet.
No, I wasn't convinced yet. I was just like, okay, I'll help you out, because again, I love to help people.
Yeah.
And why not my husband?
Absolutely.
And yeah, that's how it started.
Okay.
That is how my journey started. And before you know it, I had other agents calling me, asking me if I can help them. And quickly I realized that if I really wanted to, stick to this industry, that I needed to get all of the licensing out of the way.
Okay.
So it took me a few years to really decide if I really wanted to do that.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I was more of an assistant, because it was so easy for me.
Sure.
I mean, it was just pick up the phone, talk to people. I mean, that was something that I was already doing on a daily.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, that was just normal. Picking up the phone and getting a no was like, okay, next.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it was no big deal for me. Although, by the way, I mean, you rarely get no's.
Yeah.
Like, people do not really ever tell you no. It's just, you have to remember, it's all in their timing.
It is all in their timing.
And so anyways, fast forward to that, a few years later, I decided to get serious. And I became full-blown. And then that's where my journey started.
That's where it started.
Yes.
That was
thanks to my husband.
An incredible journey, going everywhere up until your husband suggested this.
Yes. But it's been amazing, I mean.
And you're amazing.
Thank you. No, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. I think it's a reflection of, our clients. I mean, for me, every deal counts. Mm-hmm. Whether it's a low-end price or a high-end price, we always like to make sure that the client, gets the same treatment.
Absolutely.
And feels the same appreciation.
Yeah, and people will realize not every agent, not every LO will work the same way, which is why it's important to pick somebody that will do that for you, go the extra mile and communicate, pick up the phone, give you a call, send you a text message, updates, because not everyone will. And it should be like almost intuitive business practice, but it's not.
Right.
And I think it goes back because you show this full well, you came full circle. You were yearning for something that was service centric because you care about people, and that's why it's easy for you to develop relationships, and it's easy for people to adore you because you take time and it shows that you care for them. And this is a very much relationship centric industry on the lending side, on the real estate side, on all sides, all fronts. And that's why I have an easy time introducing people to you because, hey, I know they're going to be taken care of whenever Juanita is touching a file because she makes sure it gets done the right way. Whether it's an easy conversation and it's exactly what the client expected to hear, whether it's a difficult, challenging conversation where we might have to pivot and adjust accordingly, there are conversations we have to have. And you, at any front, you excel very much. This is incredible. Up until this point, did you have any mentors in your life?
Great question. Because I want to say at the end, when I was getting ready to exit the nursing field, one of the nurses, she was a charge nurse. She, when I was already on my way out, she was like, we became friends. And she had been in nursing for 20 years. And she was like, oh my gosh, I wish I would have known, I could have helped you. Mm-hmm. But at that point, it was just like, you know what? No worries. But we've stayed friends. Oh, very positive. Yes. Another one of my patients that, I became very close with as a massage therapist. She's also, somebody that, I look up to. She's amazing. But some of the mentors that are in my life, like, all the time, I gotta say it's my husband. Yeah, I think that without him pushing me, because we all need to be pushed.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we all need to be held accountable in different areas of our life.
Absolutely.
He's great at that. And although sometimes it bothers you, right? Because it's uncomfortable. It has to be uncomfortable. You have to be uncomfortable in order to be able to grow.
So he helped unlock that potential.
Yes, and he still does till this day. We're going on 17 years.
Oh, that's incredible.
And he'll flat out say, "What are your goals?" It's funny because just really quick on a side note. Yeah. So when we were dating, we were both, obviously in our best shapes. But me, I was always, one of my biggest thing was, when we get married and when I have kids, like, I don't want to be that person that just lets my life go. Like, because I've always, been very health, centric. Okay. And he remembers that, right? So it must have been something that helped lock him in, I guess. I don't know. Because I worked out, because I wanted to, all the way up until I was like 8.5 months with my first. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. Which the doctor was totally fine with it. He's like, if you worked out your entire life, it's fine. You're not doing anything different. And so I did. Felt really good about myself. Then you have a kid, and then you realize how hard life is. Yeah, life gets a little bit difficult after you have a kid, right? But then you have another one. Oh. And it's like throwing 10 in, right? Different ages, 10 and 6. And my relationship with the gym has been like a roller coaster.
Absolutely.
Completely. There's been times where he's like, just cancel membership. You don't even go. It's just a waste of money. No, because I'm going to go back. I tried the home workouts. And anyways, cut the story short, they closed the 24-hour fitness in Santa Clarita, which is where we used to live before. And I said, you know what? I'm canceling my membership because I've been paying for it for the last 10 years and I have not been consistent. Okay. After I had my first, I have not been consistent. It's been wasting money. But it was so cheap that it was almost like 2 lattes. Like, why did I cancel it? But when they closed the Santa Clarita gym, I knew that I was going to go back. Okay. Because going to the gym in Lancaster is like 15 minutes to get there, 15 minutes to come back. Every minute counts when you're trying to juggle so many different things.
Absolutely.
And so I just canceled it. So I decided December last year, okay, fine, I'm going to let go. I'm canceling this membership. 24 hours, you're done collecting your residuals for me.
No more dividends? What?
No more dividends. And so I tell my husband, and he says, oh, great. It's about time. Because I love that man because he has no attachments to anything. Like, he'll cut it off. He'll let it go. He'll give it away. I'm like, wait, but it's only this much, right? Anyways, to cancel my membership. Now, fast forward to February. It's like, I'm going to sign you up at the gym here next to us so you can start to get active again. And I'm like, it's too cold. I don't like working out when it's cold. I love the heat.
Oh, that's funny.
He says, no, I'm signing you up. I'm like, no. Okay, well, wait. So March 3rd, he signs me up. He says, I signed you up to the gym. Come on, it's time to get back. All right. So I got to say, I mean, and he reminded me, he's like, remember when we were dating, you said that you weren't going to be that mom or that woman that was just going to let your body go. And I mean, I really haven't, but you remember things.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that though, because
but it's like accountability on your partner's behalf.
Yes,
right? Like,
exactly. Because, we all look at ourselves
100%.
and we can all
we know.
do better, right? Yeah. So I was like, okay, fine, thank you. And I gotta say, I mean, for the last 60 plus days, without last week as an exception, I mean, I have been consistent. Yeah, and I even added you as a friend on my phone, my watch,
I get
right?
the updates all the time.
It's kind of like an accountability, right? Like, oh my God, somebody's watching. I really have to go. But yeah, so back to, mentors in my life. My husband has been a huge influence.
That's amazing because that, when you get married, that should be, right? Like accountability on both sides.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
So between being a partner, how to be a wife, how to be a husband to each other, right? And then on the business side, how to work together to make something fruitful and that continues to grow.
And that takes a lot of growth, but it's a lot of willing growth and compromise. Because I got to say, the first 2 to 3 years that we were in business, it was a hot mess.
Really?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
What would you tell yourself going back if you could during those 2-3 years of growth, where it was partially like learning the business, right? But at the same time, I guess you both might not have agreed on certain things.
Well, and it was a double whammy though for us because we were newlyweds. So we were newlyweds, right? We were supposed to be bliss, for like the first year. But 30 days in, we went into business together.
Yeah.
I mean, full on. And you take two very, motivated, ambitious individuals. We're not going to agree on everything.
Naturally.
And it took a lot of growth. Those first 3 years, I'll tell you what, I think those were the biggest struggles of our life. But that's what's helped us get to where we are now.
Absolutely.
So either you grow together or you grow apart.
Ooh, that is so true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm so thankful that, it did help us grow together.
Yeah.
Because now, I mean, we're in a completely different place and we could hold each other accountable in different areas and we appreciate it, because we've grown and we understand the maturity of it. Yeah.
Yeah, there's so much that happened in your career.
Yes.
Several industries. Anybody that might be thinking about going into lending or just real estate in general, what advice would you give them?
The market is completely different.
Absolutely.
From what it was back then.
Yeah.
I mean, on the lending side, I think it's a little more difficult, and this is where my struggle is because, everybody starts somewhere.
Yes.
How do you get started in lending without a book of business? Mm-hmm. How do you get started in real estate without a book of business?
Right.
The difference between real estate and lending is that in lending, you are put on something called a draw. Like a payroll draw.
Okay.
So if you are not producing, if you are not closing loans, you're in a negative draw.
Okay.
And a company can only leave you on a draw for so long before they have to let you go. Okay.
So you're monitored as an LO.
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
If you don't hit the numbers, then sorry.
Yes, exactly. Whereas an agent, I mean, obviously the brokerage, they want you to hit certain numbers.
Absolutely.
But you're not in a payroll.
No.
You're not going to be negative when you leave.
Independent contractor.
Yes, exactly. Which is a little interesting because we're considered independent contractors.
Right.
But we're on
very
payroll.
interesting.
But we're on payroll. Which, by the way, I mean, the majority of lending companies work this way.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say all, because there are some that are not, but the majority of them. Okay. So I think that for a new LO to get started today, I think it's just linking up with, somebody that you feel comfortable to be able to, show you and teach you the ropes and kind of like a shadow.
Okay.
And kind of figure out maybe like an assistant role.
Before you become licensed?
No, I mean, when you become licensed, because
start shadowing someone ASAP.
Yes, okay. ASAP, because that's the only way you're really going to learn.
Absolutely.
The other way, because sometimes that's difficult too. The other way is also start off at one of the big banks, like a Wells Fargo. Okay. It's definitely a much lower paying position. Okay. But you start to get experience. You start to learn the process. And at least you have walk-in business from the branches.
Okay, because in our industries, we know that if you're not generating leads, you're not going to. So that bit of advice is going to that component about the mentoring and generating business, because maybe most don't know how or where to start with generating business or leads, because this is a whole new concept, right? Like, I have to go find the clients. Yes, you do. You have to go find these people. Yep. That's a very good point. And okay, this is, I think, whatever comes next between you and your husband is going to be epic, because I see all the growth. The time that I've been in real estate, and it has not been long compared to others, but I've made a point to learn as much as possible, and I ask you questions all the time. Yes. And having business partners too is very important, because there's going to be situations that not only are you limited by your license to what sort of things you can give advice on, but at the same time there might be quirky situations you find yourself in, and you have to reach out to somebody else. I find myself in those predicaments all the time, and I'm fortunate. I love the fact that I have someone like Juanita Gonzalez, because she's there, and same way she's there for me, for clients, anybody else that is seeking advice. Phenomenal. Absolutely.
No, and especially because in real estate, things are always changing, especially in lending. I mean, I think during COVID, we were getting like updated guidelines, like sometimes on a weekly, sometimes on a monthly. So if the income was this last week, now there was a new calculation to it because of what was going on with COVID, you know. And you're right. I mean, that's where, partnering with the right people to help you excel in your business is so important. Because at the end of the day, with who you work with matters. Absolutely. Depending to the level of growth that you want to have in your business. I know that your goals are pretty hefty. You have huge goals, which I love, because I love to see that in people. I love to see people around us grow. Yeah. There's enough for everybody. It's all a matter of, who wants to take advantage of it. Yeah. With the market the way that it is right now, there's so many people that are, scared, concerned. All that means is that the people that are grinding right now are just going to have a bigger market share. Absolutely. In the years to come. Yep. Because our lenders falling out. Absolutely. Our realtors falling out. Absolutely. On a daily. I mean, it's easier to go get a job than, dig through a needle to find to the haystack to find a needle. Absolutely. To find a client. But if, again, you genuinely, are taking care of your clients, your customers, the last I checked, no, housing is not going to go out of business. Nope. People are always going to need a place to live. Yep. And if they remember how you helped them, which is a reason why I also, love working with you as well, is because the values that you have in place to help your clients, they mirror each other. They do. And that's the goal. The goal is to make sure that our clients are being taken care of. Absolutely. 100% bottom line. And you do, do a great job with that as well. Thank you. Which is why it makes it easier for us to, to be able to work together, because we know we're providing the same service. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. The reciprocation is very important. Thank you, Juanita, because I've heard these stories a million times, and I think it's equally important for others to hear it more. Why? Because there's layers to Juanita Gonzalez, and there's layers to the journey and your partner, and like where this is all headed, and what made you who you are today. Thank you for sharing. And if there's any last message that you want to share to the audience, I mean, what would that be? Maybe a quote that you live by these days. I mean, just one of the things that, that's on my head right now, because we're constantly teaching the kids this right now, is, quitters never win and winners never quit. I mean, that is one of my favorite quotes, never give up,
Thanks.
just if just keep doing what you have to do to get what you want.
Absolutely.
Because, I mean, you can have it.
You can.
It's just a matter of putting in the work and the effort to be able to obtain it. And that goes for both clients and, partners that we have. We meet with clients on a daily that, maybe they can't qualify right now. Maybe they can't buy a house right now, but they want to own that home.
Yep.
That is the overall goal, home ownership, the American dream. So just because they can't buy it right now, it doesn't mean that they can't buy it a year, 2 years, 3 years from now, sometimes even 5 years from now.
That's right.
And so it goes the same hand in hand with our clients, with ourselves, with their peers. I just love it, and it's true, because we've been able to help people.
We have.
Like that. I mean, building a roadmap to home ownership is what I call it.
Absolutely.
Like we may not be able to get you in a house right now, but if we do X, Y, and Z in this amount of time, and you're willing, we can absolutely get you into a house.
Absolutely.
And now that we've been you've been in this for 7 years, right? So you're starting to see this. You're starting to see this effect from clients that that you introduced me to like 4 years ago, 5 years ago, that are not all of them, but a portion of them that are going to be purchasing a home, this year.
Yep.
That have purchased a home last year, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years later.
Yeah.
And that is when it becomes exciting, because then you really see it.
Absolutely. It's very much a journey. And the beautiful thing is, I've seen it in California. I'm seeing it in Florida, between both states, and I'll see that in Nevada. Yeah. But coming full circle between having a plan and making sure that they stick to it, if they have questions about it, just as important, checking in, making sure that they have the updated, greatest, and latest, because market changes on all fronts all the time. Yep. Just because you can't now doesn't mean you can't later. Your income will probably go up despite what the market is doing. And so I think with the right preparation, with the right team with you, you're limitless. It's just, can you listen? Can you commit? And then everything else will follow accordingly.
Exactly.
Right.
Yep. Yeah. Absolutely. I completely agree. Well, thank you, for having me here and sharing this information. I hope that helps.
Absolutely.
I know that we all like to learn a little bit about the people that we work with.
100%.
But yeah, the sky's the limit, and you're an amazing agent. So your clients are definitely getting taken care of. When you're working with them as well.
Absolutely. And it'll be, in the meantime, to be continued. But Juanita and Bartholomew here signing off.